There's lots of types of situational awareness. When I started this thing, that was kind of my world. So I would tell that to somebody, I teach situational awareness. And they go, what does that mean? And maybe that person understood the concept or knew it, but they had a different definition from me. And that's when I started realizing there's all sorts of different types of situational awareness out there. So I can't go over everyone. I don't have the time to do everything, but we're going to just throw it out there and see what we can get. In the military, a lot of the times we'd have these things called FAM fires. Anybody ever done one before? It's a familiarization fire. So maybe you're new to a weapon system. You've never seen it before. I was an infantryman. People think, you learn all guns. No, I learned the weapon systems that apply to me. So we might go out to a range day and do a FAM fire, and there might be 50 cals out there, Mark 19s, or some other random weapons that I'm not trained in. So the instructors will bring you in, they sit you down, and you launch grenades and shoot 50 cals and do a bunch of fun stuff while they watch you. This is what today is going to be like. A little bit of like a FAM fire. Not necessarily me teaching you specific, spoon feeding you every bit of information, just kind of doing a walkabout. All right, let's do a walkabout and see what's out there and see what information might apply to your situation, because this stuff has really worked for a long time for me, but you might have a different situation or context in your life and you might learn something from this. So without further ado, let's get into it. What are the different types of situational awareness, Alex? You talk about pilot. What is situational awareness to a pilot? You have a fancy definition there. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Situational awareness means having a mental picture of an existing interrelationship of location, flight conditions, instruments, so on and so forth. So they have to have a good mental picture of really everything that's going on. Not only do they have to understand their instruments or their aircraft, the health of the aircraft, how's it doing, oil pressure, fuel, and all that, but they also have to be spatially aware of other aircrafts around them, weather ahead of them, behind them, whatever that is. So that is their situational awareness. And you can't have one component without the other. If I'm an instrument expert and I'm just dialed in and I'm flying by wire and doing all that good stuff, that's great. I could be an expert pilot, but if I'm not keeping my head about looking at my radar, seeing who is around me, I might smash into another airliner or something. So a lot of intricate stuff happening. You need a lot of training for this. This is the direction I'd love to go in my life. I want to get out there and learn to fly. I want to get my instrument rating, my multi-engine rating, my jet rating. I want to go all the way to the top, but that's a lot of training and a lot of muscle memory, all right? A lot of these pilots build training through muscle memory, a lot of repetition, and they have certain maneuvers. They don't have, when you're in a plane, you don't have time to make, critical thinking decisions where you have all the time in the world. It's like you got to make decisions real quick, or you and everyone in that plane is going to die in a fiery crash. So how do we do that? The same way we did it in the military. We teach you ditties, little stupid things. The big fat whale flies over the moon on Tuesday. I'm sure that meant something to me earlier. I can't remember it, but we do these little ditties. And one of the ones they work on, especially as a new pilot, all right, is the stall, okay? I'm not going to get into the science of a stall. I'm sure everybody in here probably knows more about it than I do. But basically, you're coming at an angle that basically renders the flyability of your aircraft null, okay? The math doesn't work at a certain point. You're either too slow or you're too steep or whatever it is, and your aircraft stalls out, and then you go, oh, boom, and you start heading towards the ground, okay? Very scary experience, right? Engine's off, you're nose diving, you don't know what's happening, you don't have control of the aircraft. So they teach you to recover from that stall, either throttle down the engine, nose down, and then throttle up, and then level off. So it's kind of counterintuitive. You're pitching up, your stall, your engine goes on, you're like, oh crap, what do I do? Point the nose more down. Okay, all I see is the ground coming at me, and you want me to point my nose down farther? Yeah, because if you point your nose down farther, you can pick up some airspeed. When you have airspeed, that's your friend. You can do a kind of dive and then pick it back up and then open up your throttle, and that's how you come out of a stall. It's fairly simple maneuver. You see pilots do it all the time. But if you've never mentally or physically trained in how to get out of this stuff, if you've been flying wings level your whole life, and all of a sudden you got a little bit of a wind blow, you got a little bit of angle on your wind and you freak out, or you stall and you see the ground coming up at you and you freak out, and what do you want to do? You want to pull up hard, but you're doing so many G's that, it overloads the airframe and your wings fly off, and then you go, flying into the ground. Okay. So it's counterintuitive, but that's why we train this stuff. You got to be really good at this stuff. So why am I talking about a stall? Why am I talking about muscle memory and repetition and training? Okay. Because again, there's a lot of consequences if pilots screw this up. France flight 447, I believe, I can't remember exact 447, that went down in the ocean, killed all 228 souls aboard. Everybody died, all right, including the pilots. And with airline incidents, you'll see a lot of times it's never just one thing. It's Swiss cheese. It's like all one little thing leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, and it just turns into this Swiss cheese kind of domino effect. And what happened here was a decision-making human error. That plane was doing exactly what it was supposed to do, flying along, but for a variety of factors, basically, to boil it down, you had a junior pilot, kind of the new guy, your mid-level pilot, and then you had a senior pilot, okay? When this incident happened, the senior pilot was sleeping. It was a transatlantic flight, so he was sleeping. So you have the mid-grade pilot and the new guy. The new guy's got the flight control, and basically the stall warning goes off. And again, day one, pilots train you, nose down, gather speed, and get out of it. For whatever reason, this new pilot does the exact opposite, okay? And he pulls up. He sees a stall warning and he starts pulling up. The mid-grade guy, he knows what to do. He goes, stall, okay, nose down. That's all you got to do to pull it out of stall. So he goes nose down. Well, in this specific aircraft, the controls would cancel each other out. So if one guy's pulling to the left, this guy's pulling to the right, it cancels each other out. So what happened? One guy's pulling up, other guy's pulling down. It just canceled out and it stayed in that stall. And that stall, the stall alarm, like pull up. You know, they call it the bitch and Betty back there is telling them to pull up. That thing went off for 3 minutes. I think it said had a stall warning for 74 different times. And they're just falling. Finally, the senior pilot wakes up. He comes running in the car. And they hear him on the flight recorder, like, what the hell's going on? And they're going, we're in a stall. And he's in there within seconds. He's going, nose down, nose down. And at that point, I guess they tried to recover, but they were way too low, moving too fast, and boom, they hit the ground, lost 228 souls, okay? Such a dumb little thing, but it was a human error, all right? So that's why they have the repetition, the muscle memory, because if they don't do this stuff, a lot of people die. And same with astronauts and what. So this is the situational awareness, and these are the costs if you don't have situational awareness as a pilot.